everyone, and welcome to Kaya's Commentary, where I give my commentary on pop culture topics, real world issues, anything in between, and maybe even some advice every now and then. Before we get into it, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at kaya.r.pennington, and you can follow Kaya's Commentary on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Kaya's Commentary. Also, be sure to hit the follow/subscribe button, and if you're on YouTube, click the notification bell so you get notified when new videos drop. Now let's kick off the show with What's Trending, where I give my commentary on something I've seen trending on my socials. So the Oscars happened this past Sunday, and naturally, I'm gonna talk about the Oscars, but I'm also really kind of gonna segue. I'm gonna use the Oscars as a segue into talking about the Chris Rock special. I debated on if I wanted to talk about that, but that's why I'm talking about it so late, because I decided, let's talk about it. So, the Oscars aired, and Michelle Yeoh became the second woman of color to win Best Lead Actress. It's been like 20 years since Halle Berry, but congratulations. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once really was the big winner overall. They won Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor, or Best Lead Actor. No, Supporting Actor, because Brendan Fraser, I think, won Best Actor, so go Brendan Fraser. But, the biggest thing of the Oscars, I'm just going to get right down into it and then segue into the Chris Rock special. I have found the Will Smith moment of the 2023 Oscars, if you will. Just indulge me on my little title, okay? It's a work in progress. Not to bash Will Smith, but I have found the Will Smith moment, if you will. So Jamie Lee Curtis won Best Supporting Actress for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once over Angela Bassett in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and oh my god, I'm so sorry, her name forgets me, but she was Best Supporting Actress in Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I'm so sorry, her name forgets me. I'll try to remember to put it up on the screen if I remember. Anyway, Jamie Lee Curtis won over them, and so it was kind of a bit of a shock to many people, because I have yet to see Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, but I do plan on seeing it. Honestly, I really kind of wanted to see it before the Oscars dropped, but never got around to it. But I do plan on seeing it. So from what I hear, she was like the antagonist, and she wasn't in it for like that long to have a lasting impact to get like an Oscar. And that's not to bash Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm sure she deserves an Oscar for something. Somewhere out there, one of her works deserves an Oscar. Just maybe not this Oscar. But the Will Smith moment is, let me stop calling it that. I don't know what else to call it. The big moment that has everyone so in, about a black person, is that Angela Bassett, in those 5 seconds that we saw her, didn't really like, ooh, clap and smile, right? So, they have the nominees on the screen, and they say the Oscar goes to ... And so it'll flash to the presenters, and then back to the nominees, and then zoom in on the Oscar winner, right? So that's like a 5-second window max. And within those 5 seconds, we see Angela Bassett acknowledge that she has again not gotten an Oscar. And she should have got like not even maybe even just for this, but in the past somewhere she should have gotten an Oscar, and she hasn't. And so we see her just acknowledge, not even like a stank face or anything, but just simply acknowledging, dang, yet another one, lost another one, and then that's it. Don't see anything else out of her reaction. But white freaking feminist, that is so gonna be an unpopular opinion next week, my commentary on white feminists. But white freaking feminists have the audacity to be like, oh, she's a crybaby, she's a sore loser, she's a petulant child, yada yada yada. And it's like, you saw her face for 5 freaking seconds. You saw her reaction for 5 freaking seconds. Do please get over it. Get over it. We don't know if she had gotten up and clapped after that, or we don't know, because I don't really think the camera panned back to her like that. And then the other white lady, Carrie something, I can't remember her last name, She had a shocked look on her face too, but nobody wants to talk about that. Just want to sit here and talk about Angela Bassett. Like, y'all would think she had the stankiest stank face. Y'all would think she said, "I'ma let you finish," but like, she was just acknowledging. Dang, lost another one. We don't know what happened after that. And you got all these white feminists. She needs to be proud of another woman, her fellow colleague woman. And it's like, white freaking feminists cannot. I'm trying so hard not to cuss right now. Can't freaking stand them. Cannot stand them. Like, another human reaction. And yet, she just had to immediately be on her feet. Like, she can take time right then and there to acknowledge that she lost another Oscar, that she didn't get another Oscar. Like, I hate y'all so much. Anyway, another moment that like really irked me about the Oscars before we get down to the last year's Oscars. Malala, please forgive me if I mispronounced that, but she was there at the Oscars and they were doing this weird segment. So Jimmy Kimmel, who was the host, was like, we have this new segment, and they cut off an award winner to do this segment, right? And they're like, we have this segment where audience, people watching at home, get to interact with people here, so let's ask some questions. And so it was like, you're a Nobel Peace Prize winner, you're this, you're that. So this person wants to know, do you think Harry Styles spit on Chris Pine? And you can see she was so completely taken back because she thought she was about to get asked a real freaking question. And I honestly thought she was about to get asked a real question. And she was like, I only talk about peace. And then the cocaine bear came out and started playing with her. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think Jimmy Kimmel called her La La Land, leave her alone. And it's like, you're not funny in that regard. Like, I was so hesitant to watch the Oscars this year. And let's just get right into it. Because of the 2022 Oscar slap heard around the world, where Will Smith slapped Chris Rock on the Oscar stage live in front of everyone after Chris Rock made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's bald head, which is due to her alopecia, which Chris Rock says he did not know, right? So they have a security team in place now with the Oscars. And it's like, Jimmy Kimmel was like, anybody that wants to get up here and has issue with anything that I say, you're gonna go home with Best Actor. And it's like, it's not funny. It's not funny. And I wish we would stop villainizing Will Smith. It's been an entire year. Let's stop villainizing him. Let's stop villainizing him. And so with that, let's segue into the Chris Rock special. So this was like a week before the Oscars aired. Chris Rock had a Netflix special where he finally talked about the slap 10 minutes towards the end of his entire special. And I really tried to go into it with an open mind because I had never seen any of Chris Rock's stand-up comedy. Sure, he's a comedic actor, and I've seen some of his comedic TV shows, films, Madagascar, Everyone Hates Chris, pretty funny stuff. But I've never seen his stand-up, and so I was like, do I find him funny on stand-up? Let's see. In short, no. Now, he made some points that I can agree with, but ultimately, no, I don't find him funny. So he talked about wokeness and how companies are like, we don't support racism, sexism, homophobia, all of that. So here, buy our $100 non-racist pants, and how he was talking about he would rather have $20 racist pants than $100 woke pants. He talked about victimhood and how everyone wants to be a victim, particularly the January 6th rioters, and how their country, quote unquote, is being stolen from them. He talked about abortions. Basically, he's pro-choice. He talked about cancel culture, how people are still listening to Michael Jackson but aren't listening to R. Kelly. I'm sure there's a difference in there somewhere between those two. I don't know, and I'm not really going to get into it, but he talked about that. So points were made. Points were made where I was like, that's true. I can see that. But did I smile or laugh throughout the entire special? No, not really. Then he got to the Will Smith bit where he was like, this is the last 10 minutes, and he was like, I was a huge fan of Will Smith, consider him a friend, and now I watch Emancipation to see him get whipped. And you know what? That's not funny. This is gonna be a corny joke as well, but in lieu of his corny joke, we're just gonna be making corny jokes together. That joke was like school in the summertime. No freaking class. I said it, deal with it. Anyway, it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny. Like, that it just wasn't funny. And it's like, yeah, that he did what a comedian did, right? They go on stage and they address their trauma and their pain. And it's like, can you really put a timestamp on addressing trauma and pain, especially when you consider that person so close to you? No, I still have high school trauma that I'm dealing with, and I'm a senior in college now, and it's like, no, you can't. Apparently you can put a money stamp on it, but not a timestamp. And so if this had been a few months after the slap, because it did get brought back up a few months after the slap, and I had something to say about it then. I didn't say anything when it originally happened, but those few months afterwards, I did have something to say, which I want to say I stand by. I kind of said that Will Smith should not have slapped Chris Rock on stage. On stage being the key word. I know a lot of people are like, well, the disrespect was public, so should the consequences be. But in the grand scheme of things, Will Smith had a lot more to lose. Even though he won that Oscar, a lot of his projects were put on hold indefinitely. Some he got low-key blacklisted, had to make 100 apologies, and is still being villainized a year later. He had a lot more to lose. I wish he would have waited. I also said now he has to make his apologies because his easygoing, funny guy persona has been broken, and not that he has to fix that, but unfortunately he has to show white Hollywood that he is not a quote-unquote threat to anyone if he wants to keep a job there. It sucks. We're held to a higher standard. It is what it is, though. So I just want to say I do stand by that. With that said, this special sucked, and I am rocking very much with Will Smith, and I religiously, after that happened, immediately started watching all of his media on every platform I could just to keep them on that platform. Anyway, I don't think this was funny, and I think that whole bit about Will Smith was not great. Yes, he has to talk about his trauma, he did what comedians do, but like, so a year later, so after the fact. So after the freaking fact. No, you can't put a timestamp on trauma, but it's so after the fact. He talked about the quote-unquote entanglement and how he was like, Jada Pinkett Smith hurt Will Smith way more than Will Smith hurt Chris Rock, which, from an outsider standpoint, looking in, I might be able to see. So, I remember like this was the height of COVID, right? You know, you had all these celebrities and just people in general hopping on TikTok doing anything to entertain everybody. And so, Will Smith was jump roping, and someone got in his comments and was like, haha, don't get entangled. And Will Smith was like, haha, okay, that's funny. I'm still gonna block you, but that's funny. Like, he had private information publicly shared and had to deal with it the best way he could. What's more, we as outsiders looking in don't know how much he knew was going to be shared. And so, yeah, I can see how she may have hurt him more than us. More than, you know, I can see that. But also, everybody was clowning him, everybody was clowning her as a cheater, and it's like, apparently they have an open relationship. So did she cheat? You had all these people talking about, see these females do be cheating, and I knew she wasn't no good. All y'all talk about is men cheating, but females cheat too. And it's like, no one said women didn't cheat, but did she cheat? Or you had people like, see, I knew she wasn't no good, dog. Are you okay? Like, all that pity stuff. So I don't know if it's a projection like Chris Rock said it was, but I just think, how often has Chris Rock clowned Jada Pinkett Smith and Chris Rock personally? Because y'all were supposed to be close and friends. And so it's like, there's only, even friends, there's only so much someone can take. I still don't think that's selective outrage, as he called it. But what aggravates me the most about this, and then I'm gonna move on because this segment is getting really long. What aggravates me the most about this is that now Chris Rock did say he wasn't a victim, and that you won't catch him crying on Oprah and all of this and all of that. But people are still looking at Will Smith as this violent villain, and it's like you had people on The View, you had people like all over social media and sites and all that stuff talking about, oh, he did so good, Chris Rock did so good addressing that, he did this, he did that, he kept her name out her mouth, and they said it like it was some gotcha moment. He did keep her name out her mouth. He called her a bitch. He called them both bitches repeatedly. I don't know why y'all saying that like that's some gotcha moment, but it's not. And as a black woman, being called a bitch by a black man is so far beyond the negative connotation that it would be if it was just a woman in general and a man in general. It has different meanings when it's in the black community. And so I don't think it's fair to call Will Smith a coward or a bitch or any of that, because it's like he was probably dealing with a lot of pressure and handling it pretty well up until now. And it's just, I don't like how people are just continuously villainizing him. Like, name 5 things that Will Smith has done that gave you the ick, right? Because that's another thing. He dropped the mic. Chris Rock dropped the mic on I had parents that told us not to fight in front of white people, which kind of agree that we shouldn't be fighting in front of white people. And honestly, if we're honest, y'all agree too, because y'all have this thing. People have been saying, well, you shouldn't be disrespecting black women and black people in front of white people either, which is true. 2 things can be true at once. 2 things can be true at once. So I don't think we need to be fighting in front of, because that Oscar was headed by black people. Imagine if 2 black people got on stage and started fighting. Like, we shouldn't be. 2 things can be true at once. If that makes, like, y'all can say I'm shucking and jiving, but 2 things can be true at once. But anyway, he did that like a mic drop, and it's like, to me, that's an insinuation that says Will Smith didn't have good parenting. And it's like, before all this happened, Will Smith had a memoir come out, and in that memoir he talked about his parenting and how he was parented, and how, correct me if I'm wrong, but how his father got really abusive with his mother and he didn't like that, and that's why he doesn't like violence and stuff. So like, name 5 things that Will Smith has done that just gave you the ick, or like, oh, he doesn't have good parenting. Now name 5 things Chris Rock has done that's like, I don't know, like, it's a difference. So overall, I could find things that I could agree with in the special, but it wasn't funny to me, and I think we need to stop villainizing Will Smith a year later. And with that, let's segue into our next segment, unpopular opinions, where I give my commentary on an unpopular opinion that I have. And we'll make this quick because this got really long in that first segment. Unpopular opinion: it makes me uncomfortable when I see people online talking about, I want someone obsessed with me. If you're not obsessed with me, I don't want it. And it makes me uncomfortable because that just has a negative connotation for me. Like, you say obsessed, and I think that song by Mariah Carey, Why You So Obsessed With Me? I think stalking, I think Joe Goldberg. But speaking of Joe Goldberg, who has finished You out there? You season 4 or season 5, wherever we are right now. I don't know who has finished You, because I got some stuff to say. That is going to be in the next episode. Anyway, I think Joe Goldberg, or Law and Order, or Criminal Minds, where it's bad, it's negative, they're stalking you. And this is coming from a person who just doesn't like people in their personal space like that. It's weird. It is wild to me that people are like, I want someone obsessed with me. Yes, you should be with somebody that they consider you often. But obsessed? That's wild. And I can't be the only one who thinks that. And actually, I know I'm not the only one who thinks that, because I've seen a number of people on the socials be like, no, you don't want someone obsessed with you. That they've had that happen to them. And it's not cute. It's not funny. It's not fun. Like, why do you want someone obsessed with you? Why do you want someone in your space like that? I could not fathom having someone in my space like that. And that's probably why I have the view that I do. Like, I couldn't fathom it. Please let me breathe. I don't need you. Like, obsessed just has a bad meaning for me. And so when I see people like, I want someone obsessed with me, it's like, do you? Do you? I know I'm looking at it too literal. I know, but do you? I don't think you do. I don't really think you do. Like, that's just my quick little unpopular opinion. I really don't think we should be saying, I want someone obsessed with me, because it's like, do you? Like, I don't know. But let's kick it into our next segment, What's on TV, where I give my commentary on a TV show I've seen. Today's show, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, I was going to come on here and just praise this show, because when I first watched it, I enjoyed it immensely, like completely. I enjoyed this show. It wasn't my number one, because my number one is Wanda, but it was really close under Wanda, and ironically, I think it was the second show to drop anyway, but it was really close under Wanda. I enjoyed it. But as I rewatched it for the purposes of reviewing it, and I watched another review on it by Princess Weeks, which I would highly suggest going to watch, because she goes into way more depth than I am going to go into. I actually have some feelings about this show. Let's get into the summary and then I'll give my commentary. So it follows Sam Wilson and James Bucky Barnes 5 years after they returned from being blipped, and so it deals with them dealing with it and also the world dealing with it. So when everyone got blipped away, all their property went to people in need, right? And so now that they're back, they're getting their property back, but the people that were once in need are now back in need because they're being pushed out. And it doesn't seem like anyone is really trying to figure out the best way to help those and accommodate those in need so that everyone ends up in a good spot, right? So Sam goes home to Louisiana, I want to say. I think I'm right. And so he's helping Sarah with her business. Now, they had a boat business, and the boat is their parents, but it's hard times, and so they have to sell the boat. So Sam is trying to get loans. He can't get loans. He's still doing active work for the government, but yeah. And it's so funny to me that now I didn't expect for Tony Stark to be their bankroll. Like, he had a compound for the Avengers. He had all the stuff that they need, so they didn't really need to go out and buy anything. So, but I didn't really expect him to be like the person that's giving them quote unquote an allowance. But apparently that's how it was, because come back and it's just like, oh, you're broke. You're dead broke. You've served your government many times. Even though we have issues with you, you're dead broke. And I know that Sam got blipped away, but he ain't got no pension or nothing. Like, he's still, before the Avengers was serving the government. I don't know how pensions work, but like, he ain't got no pension or nothing, like, that would go to his family in the event of his death. I don't know. Anyway, so they're trying to get a loan, can't get a loan. Sam finds out about the Flag Smashers through Torres. And so the Flag Smashers are this group, this activists. I don't really want to say activists, nor do I want to say supremacists or revolutionists. But they are these people just fighting to keep what was given to them. They are the people that were there when the blip occurred and they got people's properties. And now that those people are back and they're being forced out, they're fighting to stay. Okay? So they're just making statements for the government to see. I wouldn't say it's violent just yet, but they're making it known that they're there. Now, Bucky, on the other hand, he's going to therapy. He's got his pardon. He is trying to make amends for the things that he has done as the Winter Soldier. So one of the things he does is befriends one of the grandparents of the victims, right? And so he's just looking after him, making sure he gets what he needs. I don't know why he befriended him, but he felt that would bring him closure. I think that brought Bucky closure, not really the victim's granddad. But okay, anyway. So he sees that Sam has given the shield that Steve gave Sam at the end of Endgame, back to the government because Sam thought that they were going to retire the shield. I don't know what made him start trusting the government. The government took away the shield, and didn't they lock him up too? But he gave the shield to them to retire because he has issues with, rocking the red, white, and blue. And honestly, who can blame him? And I'm be honest with y'all, me personally, I don't even try to rock red, white, and blue in a color scheme, but apparently I'm doing so today, which was not on purpose. But anyway, understandable to any black or brown person, really, but specifically black people, understandable. And so he has a little talk with Rhodey, who's, I think, basically told him, good job. Anyway, so the government does not retire the shield, but rather they give it to John Walker and makes him the new Captain America. So Bucky comes in and he's like, why'd you give the shield up? What are you doing? Sam is like, I did what I thought I had to do. Now I'm gonna go catch these flag smashers because they doing something. And so Bucky tags along, and they get really not uncomfortable, but Bucky is really trying to figure out, why did you give up the shield? That is the last thing of Steve's, and he gave it to you. He gave me his book, he gave you his shield. Why'd you give it away? So they're dealing with that all the while trying to catch the flag smashers. They get the flag smashers and they get in a fight with them, and they figure out that the flag smashers are super soldiers. Someone has recreated the serum and they're taking it. So they have this encounter with John Walker and his sidekick, because that's really who he is, Lamar. Now, at the time, I didn't really think Lamar got a poster, and he was really there just to be the snapping point for John Walker's sanity. I don't know if you want to call that the magical Negro. I don't think it's the magical Negro, but it's certainly the Negro friend, the black best friend. Anyway, so they have a conversation with them, and they're basically just giving him a hard time. They're like, just because you have the shield, just because you wear the colors doesn't make you Steve. And on one point, you have to feel sorry for John Walker, because it's like, yo, that's a legacy to live up to. Not just the shield legacy, but then working with the people who knew Steve, who are holding you to his high standard. It's like, yo. So on one hand, it's like, oof, sorry. And then he kind of basically calls them Steve's sidekick, and Sam is like, wow, really? I'm the white guy's sidekick, huh? So they get out. Bucky tells Sam about Isaiah Bradley, who was a black super soldier. He basically did what Steve did. He took the shield, he broke his platoon out, but unlike Steve, he did not get the praise. He got imprisoned, he got experimented on by Hydra and by the US government, so he doesn't want anything to do with them, including Bucky. So Bucky shows Sam that, I don't know, in some hope to be like, see, let's do right by him and take the shield up, but you take, I don't know. But they end up getting racially profiled. Rather, Sam ends up getting racially profiled, and you can tell that he's had that done to him before. Like, he's defiant against it, but he also is like, yeah, I knew as soon as you found out who I was, you were gonna drop your tone. So he's clearly had that done to him before. So Bucky gets imprisoned. Bucky gets sent to jail, because he missed his mandated therapy, right? So he and Sam end up having a therapy session. Excuse me. And so I have issue with this, and I talk about this in my The World of Shipping video rant, which I would highly suggest going to watch, because I'm not going to go really in depth into the problem that I'm about to say like I did in that video. So go watch that video for more context on what I'm about to say. It's here that people really start to ship. There are some people that start to ship Bucky and Sam, and even when they were fighting the flag smashers on a truck, and then Bucky gets kicked off the truck, and Sam saves Bucky, and they have a tumble in the grass where Bucky lands on top of Sam. So you have people shipping them, and I don't like that, because not for any homophobic reasons. As I said, go watch my World on Shipping video for more context, but simply because these two people don't like each other. This is not an enemies to lovers. This is about them dealing with being back after the blip and being the only two people. Their only connection with Steve and stuff, and that they're gone. Or Tony or Natasha, but they're gone too. Like, that's what this is. And then this is the episode with Isaiah Bradley, and people overshadow it by shipping Bucky and Sam. And it's like, that's not what there was. And so it aggravates me. Go watch my video, The World of Shipping, for more context. Also, everybody knows that Bucky's gonna get with Sarah, so like, Bucky is certainly about to get with Sarah, and if he not, I'm a riot. Anyway, John Walker, he gets Sam and Bucky out of therapy, and he's like, let's work together, and they're like, no. And so he's like, okay, stay out of my way then. So Bucky and Sam end up breaking Zemo out because he knows about super soldiers, which angers the Wakandans, and the Dora Milaje are sent to go find them, because why would you break out the man who killed King T'Chaka? So the Dora Milaje give Bucky and Sam like 8 hours before they're like, do what you gotta do with Zemo, because we taking him. So he does help them find Carly Morgenthau, who is the leader of the Flag Smashers. And so Sam is able to talk to Carly and calm her down a little bit. And he's like, I agree with your fight, just not the way you're fighting it. They're calling you a supremacist. She's like, no, everything I do is to end supremacy. I'm not a supremacist. They're trying to take your home. We should be working together. And he's like, yeah, I agree with your fight, just not the way you're fighting it. And then John Walker comes in all tough and stuff and ruins everything. And so Carly runs out. They lose her. She loses the super soldier serum. She had a few more, but loses them when Zemo finds her and smashes up all but one. John Walker comes in as Carly runs out, and he knocks out Zemo, takes the remaining super soldier serum and slips it into his pocket. And so by the time the Dora Milaje come and take Zemo back, they serve John Walker his ass on a platter. And Bucky and Sam too, but specifically John Walker. And this is the moment he's like, they weren't even super soldiers. And to me, that shouldn't have been his breaking moment, because it's like, they the Dora Milaje. Like, I don't know if he's been in war before he got the shield, but it's like, where have you been? They're the Dora Milaje. Like, they have jurisdiction wherever they find themselves to be. Like, that should not have been the breaking point. So he takes the super soldier serum. They catch Carly and some of her associates again, and so Carly's able to run out, but she does kill Lamar, the black friend who was there to serve as John Walker's mental snap. And so John Walker ends up chasing one of her associates, and he catches him, and he's pleading with his hands up, no, stop, it wasn't me, please, I give up. And so John Walker, I don't know why I keep saying his full name, but he takes the shield and he brings it down on the guy's chest, repeatedly killing him, and everyone captures it on camera, in the world of camera, in the world of digital, right? So the government takes the shield from him and really kind of strip him of his titles. I don't know if they take away his pension or anything. And you have a lot of people defending John, and it's like, oh, he just lost his friend. Y'all just want to hate John Walker because he's Captain America. And it's like, yes, there are people who just hate John Walker just because he's John Walker, but also, he killed a man who was begging for his life with Captain America's shield. And yes, that shield has had blood on it before, but like, that really taints it, right? That taints what that shield is supposed to stand for. Stop condemning that just because there are people who don't like John Walker. For a legitimate reason too. Like, if you want to defend John Walker, fine, but like, at least have a legitimate reason. Like, the people who don't like him have a legitimate reason, you know? Anyway, so Sam and Bucky run up on him, take the shield, and then the government takes the shield, and then Christina Valentine, I think, comes in, and she's like, yeah, don't worry about that. They don't have the shield. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. She basically makes him U.S. agent. This is also kind of like a filler episode. Sam goes home. Well, he goes to Isaiah Bradley and he's like, I want to understand. And Isaiah's like, you do understand. Every black person, every black man understands. And Sam is like, don't do that old bitter man thing with me. I'm trying to understand, right? So Isaiah takes him in the house and he's like, they experimented on me. They told my wife I was dead. They hid her letters from me. And it was only out of the kindness of one nurse that I got my letters back, and then they finally let me go, but then they legally declared me dead, so no one knows I'm alive. And then he was like, they will never let a black man be Captain America, and even if they did, no self-respecting black man would want to be. So Sam goes home. He still has the shield, but he goes home. He tries to help Sarah with her boat. He calls in favors from the neighborhood. Bucky comes in. He gives Zemo back to the Wakandans and then asks them to create a suit for Sam as Captain America. He goes to deliver the suit and then kind of stays to help out with the boat. He meets Sarah, has some very cute flirting with Sarah. I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for Sarah and Bucky. I am. And then the last episode, this is a 6-episode series, very, very mini series. They catch up with Carly Morgenthau and Sharon. I forgot about Sharon. They bring Sharon in and she kind of helps them track Carly a little bit. She's upset because she didn't get her pardon, and it's like, yeah, dang, Avengers, y'all dropped the ball on not getting Sharon a pardon, but also, you are a SHIELD agent. Where are the people who can pardon? Like, where are your contacts that can give you a pardon? Like, I don't know. I don't like Sharon, and not just because of the Steve thing. I just don't care enough about her character, and apparently neither do they, because they forgot all about her character. That's why they're bringing her back up in this series with her upset that she doesn't have a pardon. So she's really out to get herself. She's really the overall bad guy. She's the power broker. She's the one who financed Carly. She ends up killing Carly to keep the secret, right? But she's all out for herself. And on one hand, it's like, okay, good for you. Go ahead, take that route, because they screwed you over. But on the other hand, where were your contacts? I just don't like Sharon. I don't care about her character enough. So, they catch Carly and the Flag Smashers. They have this one final epic thing. John Walker comes back in. His mentality is better. He created his own shield, like a metal shield was supposed to go up against a super soldier, but okay. And so they take down the Flag Smashers and Carly, or Sharon takes down Carly. Sam flies her dead body. Let me stop. He flies her body into like where the leaders are. The GOC? Not GOC, because that's the real thing, isn't it? The people who are supposed to be over this organization that's supposed to help accommodate everyone, but don't. So he flies her body back in for them to see, puts her on a stretcher, and it's like, she was trying to show you, she died trying to show you that they don't want to get their stuff taken away. They're pushed out, that they want to live life like anyone else. Now you know how hard it is for these people on any given day. He gives a good speech, right? I'm not doing it justice, but he gives a good speech. And then Bucky is like, great speech, cap. And then they go home and Bucky is invited to the cookout, for lack of better words. Like, he shows up with a store-bought cake and he's playing with Sarah's son, Sam's nephews. He's talking to Sarah. He's flirting with her. It is really funny to me, and maybe that's just the mindset that I have, but he got kids hanging on his arm, his metal arm, while he's talking to her just casually. And to me, that come off as, don't be afraid of the metal arm, baby. It can do some things. Like, I'm sorry. I ship Bucky and Sarah. I do. They shouldn't have done that, but because I'm riding for it, I'm gonna be so upset if I don't get it. Like, And so that's the show. Let's give our commentary on the show. And real quick, I want to break back into the first segment talking about the Oscars really quickly, just because since I'm talking about Marvel, it came back up. Another reason I don't think Angela Bassett won that Oscar is because people don't think Marvel movies and comic movies are Oscar worthy. Sure, they can be Oscar worthy for design purposes, but like acting wise. And so that's another reason I don't think that she got that Oscar. And I just want to say that right now while it's on my mind, because I'm talking about Marvel, and I just don't think people think comic stuff is Oscar worthy in that, and we really got to change their minds. Anyway, back to this segment. So my commentary on the show is as follows. Like I said, I really was going to come on here and praise the show, but looking back and especially watching Princess Week's video, which certainly go do because she goes into a lot of depth and she's more up to date on the comic books than I am. I am still breaking into the comics, right? So certainly go watch her video. But this show was good. I actually do think it was good, but it could have been better. Like this show, and this is I'm echoing a thought from Princess Weeks. It was like 6 episodes and certainly could have been longer. Me personally, I think it could have been at least 13 episodes if you want to keep it into a mini series type thing. 13 episodes because it tackled so many themes. Racism, I don't want to say like fascism or revolutionary stuff, but that was in there as well. Like activism, who is considered a villain? How do you make a villain? Like what makes a villain? What makes a villain? Because as I look at it, Carly Morgenthau and the Flag Smashers weren't really villains. Like when I first watched this show, it's just like they had to have a villain to overcome just so that Sam and Bucky could find a way of working together. I know a lot of people don't like Carly Morgenthau, and that could just be sexist reasons, but also I was just indifferent towards her because it's like they just need a villain. But what makes a villain? Because what is supposed to be the moment where we see the Flag Smashers have no morals is when they blow up a building that has a few civilians in it, and that's the moment we're supposed to be like, oh wow, they don't care, they're horrible. But it's like they did what the American government would have done. Like if this was about the American government fighting something, they would have been fighting for quote unquote freedom. They would have done that. January 6 rioters, how they're not getting maximum life in prison right now, even though they stormed their own capital. The Confederate Army, they were quote unquote fighting for their freedom and to keep their rights. We can't get their monuments taken down because they were heroes. But God forbid we put up a black revolutionist, like, or we talk about any of that in school. Like, they did what the American government would have done. And if this was like centered around white people, it would be praised. What makes a villain? What makes a villain? Carly Morgenthau and the Flag Smashers weren't villains. It also, like I said, racism. So, like I said, I think you could certainly see Sam being racially profiled before. But also, Princess Weeks makes a note of saying, why would he need to ask Isaiah Bradley about his story? I want to disagree with that. If they had Sam ask Isaiah Bradley about his story, especially since Sam supposedly knew, it would have just been a black man telling his story to a white man. To make it clear, it had to be Sam, or at least some black person just on that level, especially connecting to they would never let a black man be Captain America. No self-respecting black man would want to be, right? Like, it had to be him, and they had to ask that just because they had to get Isaiah Bradley's story out, because not everyone read the comics, so they don't know. So you're just like, you're introducing this super soldier, this black super soldier who's clearly been had some trauma, but what about it? So, but they dealt with racism and just the world in general having to deal with the fact that all these people, their loved ones, people they knew, all of that, who were gone for 5 years, come back. And it's like, we didn't go nearly as in depth with that as we should have. This show could have been longer, certainly longer than 6 episodes, 13 at the most. Like, so many themes that they just didn't go into. So I think the show was good. I just think it could have been better. It could have been better. And with that, let's kick it into our next segment. Let's go to the movies, where I give my commentary on a movie I've seen. Today's movie, The Duff. Now, this will have interchangeable discourse between the book and the movie. So it follows Bianca Piper, Wesley Rush, Jessica and Casey, which are Bianca's quote-unquote hotter friends, Madison, which is Wesley's on-again, off-again girlfriend, and Bianca's mom. So Bianca has 2 quote-unquote really hot friends, Jess and Casey, and Bianca's by society standards are not that hot. And this is set in high school, by the way, so high school standards of American Beauty standards. So she gets treated like the gatekeeper by other people. Justin Casey had never treated her that way. And so she's talking to Wesley at a party, and Wes is like, you're the Duff, the designated ugly fat friend. You're the gatekeeper. So she's upset. You called me fat and ugly. He's like, no, I wouldn't do that. We can see in the movie version, he's a little... he's a bimbo. He's, what's the, a himbo? Is that how you call a male himbo? He's a himbo. And so she kind of dumps her friends because she's looking back at past photos, and it's like Justin Casey running a marathon, Justin Casey dressing up like this, the Charlie's Angels, even though there were 3 angels, Bianca was falsely. So she's like, y'all knew I was your Duff and didn't say anything? And they're like, what are you talking about? So she goes to Wesley, the guy, and is like, hey, help me get the attention of my crush, Toby. And so he does somewhat build her confidence. He takes her shopping, gets her some decent clothes, and then he's like, that mannequin right there is Toby. Let's see how you would talk to him. So at first it's fine, but then she gets a little out of pocket. It's fine at first, but it gets a little weird. And so Madison's henchwoman is taking video. Now Madison doesn't want Wesley hanging around Bianca and vice versa, because Bianca is a quote-unquote loser who doesn't need to be hanging around the popular kids. Wes is popular. So she takes the video and then releases it to the entire school. So Toby now knows she has a crush on her. Everybody's seen the awkward video. And while Justin and Casey are able to take it down, it's up there. Everyone's seen it. And so Wesley's like, okay, now you have to own it. Just own it. So she does manage to ask Toby out, but apparently he was duffing her. He was using her to get to Justin Casey. And so Bianca tells Wesley this over the phone, and she's like, I'm gonna go hang out with him. She goes to her secret spot, which she showed him in the woods, which is this rock. But he is there with Madison, and he's making out with her. And so she goes home. He's like, hey, I heard about what happened. He comes over, and she's like, you took that girl to my secret spot. Like, forget it. Forget all of it. She makes up with her friends and then realizes that she actually has a crush on Wes. And so they go to the homecoming dance, and Madison is crowned prom king, whatever, homecoming king, queen. And so she actually ends up getting with Wesley. He goes for her instead of the crown. And then that's really kind of the movie. A few differences from the book is that in the book, Bianca's mom left her and her dad, so it's just her dad, who is a recovering alcoholic. In the movie, her mom got dumped by her dad, so it's just her. Madison isn't there in the book, which works for the movie, but she wasn't really needed. But the movie itself is a whole other thing. In the book, Wes and Bianca have this friends with benefits thing, which I know this was written in like 2010s and the movie was like 2015, but we as a society must move past high school settings, especially when there's sex involved. And so in the movie, it's more of this confidence builder thing. They do have an ugly duckling transformation, but not like physically, internally. She gains her confidence. She dons a dress that's pretty, and it's just like, I like you, so what? I don't care about anybody's societal standards because I'm doing me. Like, you know, so I can appreciate that the movie took the route it took. Normally, I have this stance that if you have to change a TV show or a movie so much from its book adaptation, maybe you shouldn't make it. But I can appreciate that the movie took the route that it did, because the book, while I do like, I don't know if it would have worked, especially like high schoolers just making out all the time, like as far as sex goes. Like I do like both of them. I kind of like the book a little bit better, but I can appreciate that the movie took the route that it did. And so with that, I'll give the movie a 7 out of 10 and the book an 8 out of 10, or an 8.5 out of 10. So with that, that's Let's Go to the Movies, and that's Kaya's commentary. If you like this episode, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button / follow button, leave a comment down below, let me know any of your thoughts and opinions. Be respectful, but certainly let me know any of your opinions on any of the segments that I've had. And with that, I'll see you next week.